Howdy, it's Jim Morado. This is just a little video I made back in 2017. This was us driving through Shanksville, Pennsylvania, stopping at the Flight 93 Memorial managed by the National Park Services. We actually were going from Pennsylvania, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, one of my favorite cities ever, and we were going over to Gettysburg. We made we kind of looked at the maps and realized we could fit in a nice little stop here, and that's what we did. I've personally visited just about every site associated with 9/11, and this was one of the last. This was one that was really big on my list at the time. I visited New York City, and been to most of those sites on a couple of different trips, one before and one after this. But this was just a visit that I really wanted to do. I think a lot of people, well, I think everybody, if you were, an adult and alive, back on, September 11th, 2001, you have your own memory. And just for the record, I was living in Cleveland, Ohio at the time, and I was doing case management, what most people kind of generically refer to as social work. And I was in downtown Cleveland that day, and I was helping one of my clients at one of the benefits offices right in downtown Cleveland. And I kept hearing people, I was overhearing people talking about planes crashing. And I didn't think a whole lot about it. And then I heard somebody say a plane had crashed into a building in New York City. And I heard something about the military, and I just thought, oh my gosh, stupid military. I thought maybe some pilot screwed up and hit a building, doing some sort of military action. Anyway, I ended up asking, there was a security guy there, and I asked him what was going on, and he kind of told me that two planes had crashed into the Twin Towers there in New York. And it was just a very bizarre day. I still had to see my clients, in Cleveland. I still had work to do. And as I drove around, I remember listening to Lanigan and Malone, a couple of local DJs that I liked a lot. And they were kind of covering what was going on. If I remember correctly, they were the morning guys, and I think they sort of stayed on through most of the day, just kind of keeping up with stuff. But it was crazy, and we had some friends from England who were staying at our house. And they actually saw the second plane crash live on TV. And that was, it was just pretty heavy. So anyway, we stopped here. I guess we're still kind of driving around a little bit, but we stopped here and just checked out the visitor center and everything they had. And I did pick up one of the brochures, one of the free brochures they give you, and I always enjoy picking those up because they're very informative. Oh, and by the way, this like I said, this was 2017. I know that they've added some to this park and to this memorial site since. But yeah, I think this was kind of early on, and it's this is just kind of early on after they got the visitor center up and stuff. So I'm sure there's more there now, and I'm sure they'll keep adding to it. But anyway, from the brochure that they give you at the visitor center, there's a little segment called America Attacked. The smoke plume from the crash explosion was photographed by a nearby resident. September 11th, 2001 marked the first time that terrorists used commercial airlines as weapons to destroy symbolic targets, commit mass murder, and spread fear. Al-Qaeda had targeted the World Trade Center, commerce, Pentagon, military, and U.S. Capitol government. Hay bales covered with tributes from the families of the passengers and crew formed an early informal memorial. Even the FBI recovery work and search for evidence continued at the crash site. And by the way, I'm kind of walking. I believe I'm walking down towards the crash site now. I'm Gonna try not to get too distracted by my video, and I apologize. This is just me carrying the camera around, again, thinking I'm just doing this for my own benefit. I never planned to put this on the internet, but here we are. And it goes on. The first volunteer firefighters on the scene and local residents stand by the smoldering crater 15 minutes after the crash. At the direction of the coroner, the crater was backfilled. A piece of fuselage was one of the largest objects recovered. The cockpit voice recorder gave details of the diverted flight. And by the way, I don't think they've ever released the actual audio recording of that, but I have read the transcripts. And that's some pretty heavy stuff. The cockpit voice recorder became important evidence for the FBI in this, its largest ever investigation. This was the only voice recorder recovered from the 4 hijacked aircraft to yield information. This black box gave critical information about the aircraft's final moments and the struggle for control. Other evidence found here would enable the FBI to trace how the terrorist attacks were financed. And it goes on a little more. There's a lot of pictures in this brochure that I like too. Yeah, I wanted to put up some pictures I took because I just took a very, very short video. And these are some photographs I took that day around the visitor center and the visitor center. Yeah, I just wanted to put those up. And I have visited the new World Trade Center, the museum, the 9/11 museum there in New York City. I've been to both the museum and I've been to the new World Trade Center, and the museum, especially in New York City, is very heavy. A couple of things that I remember is the one, I believe, is one of the firefighters who ended up, sacrificing his life, and you can actually pick up a phone and listen to his voice messages from his phone machine of his friends calling to ask him if he's okay and ask him what's going on. And that's something that's pretty emotional. A couple of other things they do have. You probably remember some of the famous photos. Kind of dusty looking storefront displays that were you'd see everywhere after 9/11, and they had some of those actual images you would see. They had the like bikes on a bike rack that were photographed. They actually would have that bike rack and the bikes, and the thing that really hit me was you could still smell that kind of burnt smell on them. Yeah, I could go on and on with that sort of thing. Yeah, and not to go on and on, but there's the quote from there's the Brian Sweeney phone message that he left for his wife. And again, at that New York 9/11 Memorial Museum, you can pick up a phone and listen to the actual message that he leaves for his wife. And then they have the quote right above the phone, and it is a tear-jerker. And I listened to that, and then I just kind of had to stand back for a little bit and think about that. And you would see other people come by and pick up the phone and hear that message that he was leaving, and you could see them get emotional and stuff too. But yeah, this is the Shanksville one, and of course, I'm sure everybody remembers the Todd Beamer quote. He was one of the passengers that helped take the plane down here, preventing it from hitting another major target. So yeah, Shanksville is just a neat little memorial to go by. Obviously, the biker guys like to stop here. It's a nice place to stop on a road trip.